Commander Taeho stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the blue planet below. Earth hung in space like a marble, but something was wrong. The planet that once buzzed with radio signals and space traffic was completely silent. No ships moved around it. No signals came from its surface. It had been this way for 300 years. "Sir, are you sure we should go down there?" asked Dr. Bora from her station. She was the ship's scientist, an expert in studying alien life forms. Her purple skin showed the worry that all her people felt when they were nervous. Taeho nodded slowly. He had been chosen to lead this mission because he was good at staying calm. The Galactic Council had sent representatives from 4 different alien races to finally solve the mystery of Earth. What happened to the humans? Where did they go? Why did their planet go silent just when they started reaching for the stars? "We have to know," Taeho said. "The Council needs answers. Humans were becoming too dangerous to ignore. Then they just vanished. That doesn't make sense." The ship's pilot, a tall gray being called Yoon-sik, checked his instruments. "Commander, I'm getting strange readings from the planet's surface. The cities look empty, but there's something underneath. Deep underground networks. They stretch across the whole planet." Bora moved to her scanner and started working. Her 6 arms moved quickly over the controls. "That's impossible. No species builds underground on this scale. These tunnels go everywhere, under oceans, under mountains, connecting all the continents." Taeho felt a chill run through his body. In all his years exploring the galaxy, he had never seen anything like this. "Are there any life signs?" "Very faint ones," Bora said. "But they're organized, moving in patterns, like they're following paths or schedules." The 4th member of their team, Engineer Minna, spoke up from her corner. She was small and covered in scales that changed color with her mood. Right now they were dark red, showing fear. "Commander, what if the humans didn't die? What if they did this on purpose?" "Did what on purpose?" Taeho asked. "Hid," Minna said simply. The idea seemed crazy. No species had ever hidden an entire planet. But as Taeho looked at the readings, he started to wonder. The underground networks were too perfect, too well planned. This wasn't something built after some disaster. This was built with purpose. "Take us down," he ordered. "Land near the city that used to be called Seoul. But keep the engines ready. If something goes wrong, we leave immediately." The ship moved through Earth's atmosphere smoothly. As they got closer, Taeho could see the city below. Buildings still stood, but they were covered in plants. Streets were cracked and overgrown. It looked exactly like a dead city should look after 300 years. But Taeho noticed something odd. The decay was too even, too perfect. Real ruins were messy and random. These looked almost like they were designed to look abandoned. They landed in what used to be the city center. The 4 aliens put on their environmental suits and stepped outside. The air was breathable but felt different somehow. Heavier. "Split up," Taeho ordered. "Stay in contact. Look for any signs of what happened here." Bora went toward what looked like an old government building. Yoon-sik headed for the transportation systems. Minna started examining the power grids. Taeho walked toward the tallest building, trying to understand what he was seeing. The city felt wrong. Everything was too clean under the plant growth. Too organized. Real abandoned cities had more damage, more chaos. This felt like a movie set designed to look old. "Commander," Bora's voice crackled through his communicator. "I'm finding sealed entrances everywhere. They're hidden, but they're there. These buildings aren't empty. They're covers for something underneath." "Same here," Yoon-sik reported. "The subway tunnels don't go where the old maps say they should. They go much deeper and connect to things that shouldn't exist." Minna's voice was excited. "The power grid is still active. It's just redirected. All the power is going underground. Massive amounts of power." Taeho felt his hearts beating faster. His species had 2 hearts and both were racing now. "Everyone come back to the ship. We need to report this to the council immediately." But as he turned to head back, he saw something that made him freeze. A small light was blinking on top of a nearby building. Then another light appeared on a different building. Then another. "We're being watched," he whispered into his communicator. "By who?" Bora asked. Before Taeho could answer, the ground under his feet started to vibrate. A low humming sound filled the air. All around the city, hidden panels started to slide open. The aliens ran toward their ship as more lights appeared on buildings that had seemed dead moments before. They reached the ship and sealed the airlock behind them. Yoon-sik started the engines while the others strapped in. As the ship lifted off, Taeho looked down at the city through the window. Seoul was coming alive. Lights were turning on in patterns across the city. The humming sound was getting louder, and from hidden openings in the ground, small vehicles were emerging and moving in organized formations. "Commander," Bora said quietly, "I don't think the humans are gone. I think they were waiting for us to find them." The ship climbed higher into the atmosphere, but Tejo kept watching the city below. More cities across the planet were lighting up now. The dead world was waking up, and he had the feeling that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans was wrong. "Set course for the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Emergency speed." "We need to warn them." "Warn them about what?" Minna asked. Tejo looked at the planet one more time as they left orbit. That we might have made a very big mistake thinking the humans were gone. 3 days later, Tejo found himself back on Earth, but this time he wasn't alone. The Galactic Council had sent a full diplomatic team. They needed to know what was really happening on the planet that everyone thought was dead. This time they landed with permission. The humans had sent them coordinates and a simple message: "Come to the landing zone. We will meet you there." As their ship touched down in a clearing outside Seoul, Tejo saw them waiting. 50 humans in matching gray uniforms stood in perfect rows. They looked exactly like the humans in the old records, but something was different. They moved like soldiers. Every step was precise. Every turn was sharp and controlled. A tall human with short black hair stepped forward. He wore more decorations on his uniform than the others. "I am Captain Wu Jin of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome back, Commander Tejo." Tejo was surprised. "You know who I am?" "We know everything about your ship, your crew, and your mission," Wu Jin said calmly. "We have been monitoring galactic communications for 300 years. We know about every council meeting, every trade agreement, every conflict in the galaxy." Dr. Bora stepped forward nervously. "But why? Why did you hide? Why did you let everyone think you were extinct?" Wu Jin looked at her with dark eyes that seemed much older than his face. "Because we had work to do. Important work. And we needed the galaxy to leave us alone while we did it." "What kind of work?" Tejo asked. "Follow me," Wu Jin said. "But first you need to understand something. What you are about to see must remain secret until we are ready. The survival of every species in the galaxy depends on it." He led them to what looked like a small hill covered in grass, but when he pressed his hand against a hidden panel, the hill split open to reveal a metal doorway. Bright white light spilled out from inside. "Welcome to New Seoul," Wu Jin said. They walked through the doorway and into the most incredible sight any of them had ever seen. They were standing on a platform overlooking a massive underground city. Buildings reached up toward the ceiling hundreds of meters above. Vehicles moved along elevated roadways. Millions of humans walked along streets and worked in the buildings below. But that wasn't the most shocking part. The most shocking part was that everything was designed for war. The buildings were all bunkers and fortresses. The vehicles were all armored. Every human they could see was wearing some kind of uniform and carrying weapons. Children walked to school in organized groups with armed adults watching them. Even the art on the walls showed scenes of battle and defense. "My God," whispered Engineer Minna. "The entire city is a military base." "Not just this city," said a new voice. A human woman approached them. She was small and serious-looking, with tools hanging from her belt. "I am Engineer Hiri. Every city on Earth is like this. Every human settlement in our solar system. We have turned our entire species into an army." "But why?" Bora asked. "Humans were never that organized before. You were always fighting each other." Wu Jin and Hiri exchanged a look. 300 years ago, our scientists detected something coming toward the galaxy. Something terrible. We tried to warn the Council, but they said we were being paranoid. They said we were too young as a species to understand space properly. "What did you detect?" Tejo asked, though he was starting to fear the answer. "Show them," Wu Jin said to Hiri. She led them to a wall covered in screens and data displays. The information was overwhelming, but one thing was clear. Something was moving through space toward their galaxy, something that left empty star systems behind it. "We call them the Devourers," Hiri explained. "They consume everything organic on every planet they reach. 17 civilizations have been completely wiped out. The Council never heard about them because there was nobody left alive to send warnings." Tejo felt sick. "How do you know all this?" "Because we sent scout ships," Wu Jin said. "While the galaxy thought we were extinct, we were building the fastest, stealthiest ships anyone had ever made. We followed the trail of destruction. We studied the enemy. And we learned that they are coming here next. When? Tejo asked. 6 months, Hiri said quietly. Maybe less. The 4 aliens looked at each other in horror. Their civilizations were completely unprepared for something like this. Most galactic species had given up warfare centuries ago. They had no armies, no weapons, no idea how to fight. That's why you disappeared, Bora realized. You were getting ready. Every human on Earth has been trained for combat since birth, Wu Jin explained. Every building is a fortress. Every tunnel connects to weapons storage and supply lines. We have turned our entire planet into one massive military base designed to stop the Devourers. But you can't fight them alone, Tejo protested. We weren't planning to, Hiri said. We were hoping that when the time came, the galaxy would be ready to help us. But looking at your species, at how peaceful you've all become, she shook her head. We're not sure you can learn to fight fast enough. Wu Jin walked to a window that looked out over the underground city. Thousands of humans were going about their daily lives, but every single person moved with military precision. Even the children marched in formation. We gave up everything, he said. Art, music, literature, philosophy. We turned it all toward one goal. Survival. We became something we never wanted to be because someone had to. Someone had to be ready when the monsters came. And now they're almost here, Hiri added. The question is, will the galaxy fight with us, or will you all die wondering why nobody warned you? Tejo looked at his team and saw the same realization in all their faces. The peaceful galaxy they knew was about to end, and the only species ready for what was coming was the one everyone thought was dead. Admiral Ji-hun stood before the largest gathering in galactic history. Representatives from every known species had come to the emergency council meeting. The great assembly hall on Nexus Prime was packed with aliens who had never seen a human before. Many were scared. Others were angry. All of them were confused. Ji-hun was tall for a human, with gray hair and scars on his hands from decades of military training. He wore a simple black uniform with no decorations except for one small patch showing Earth. Behind him, a massive screen showed images from the underground cities. 300 years ago you thought we died, Ji-hun said simply. We let you think that because we needed time to prepare. Now that time is almost over. A representative from the Kepler Federation stood up. She was tall and blue with 4 arms that moved nervously. You deceived us.
You lied to the entire galaxy.
We survived, Ji-hun replied calmly, which is what every species here will need to learn how to do. On the screen behind him, images showed human weapons factories deep underground. Massive guns that could shoot through space. Armor that could stop weapons that didn't exist yet. Ships built for fighting, not exploring. The Devourers are 6 months away, Ji-hun continued. They have already consumed the outer rim systems. The Helios colonies went dark 2 weeks ago. The Tau Cetans stopped transmitting yesterday. Soon they will reach the core worlds, and then it will be too late. Dr. Hyojung stepped forward from the human delegation. She was younger than Ji-hun, with kind eyes that didn't match the terrible things she was about to say. We have studied the Devourers for 3 centuries. They are not like any enemy you understand. They don't want your territory or your resources. They want to eat every living thing on every planet. She pressed a control and the screen showed recordings from the destroyed systems. Dead planets stripped of all plant and animal life. Oceans turned to empty basins. Atmospheres poisoned and useless. They move in bioships the size of moons, Hyojung explained. They reproduce by consuming organic matter. Every planet they destroy makes their fleet bigger and stronger. By the time they reach Earth, they will have the mass of entire solar systems. The council chamber erupted in frightened voices. Species that had never experienced war were trying to understand something beyond their worst nightmares. Commander Tejo, who had been given a place of honor for discovering the humans, stood up. What do you need from us? Ji-hun looked at him with respect. Time, resources, and the willingness to change everything about how you live. Change how? Asked the representative from the Crystal Harmony worlds. Dr. Hyojung activated another display. Every species here will need to militarize completely. Your factories must start making weapons instead of art. Your schools must teach combat instead of philosophy. Your governments must become military commands. That's impossible, protested a delegate from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance. Our entire civilization is based on non-violence. We haven't had armies for 1,000 years. Then you will die, Ji-hun said simply. The Devourers don't care about your principles. They don't negotiate. They don't show mercy. They eat everything that lives and move on. On Earth, Captain Wu Jin was giving the same presentation to a different group. The humans had invited alien observers to see their military preparations firsthand. Engineer Minna from Taeho's original team was among them, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Every human child learns to use weapons before they learn to read, Wu Jin explained as they walked through a training facility. Every adult serves in the military. Every job is designed to support the war effort. They watched human children no older than 10 practicing combat formations. The children moved like professional soldiers, but they were laughing and playing games while they did it. They had made war into something natural. How do you live like this? Minna asked. How do you have families and art and happiness when everything is about fighting? We redefine those things, Wu Jin said. Our art celebrates strength and sacrifice. Our families are military units. Our happiness comes from being ready to protect each other. They entered a massive chamber where thousands of humans were working on something Minna had never seen before. It was a weapon the size of a building, covered in symbols and equations she couldn't understand. What is that? She asked. A planet killer, Wu Jin said casually. We've built 50 of them. When the Devourers come, we'll be ready. Back at the council meeting, the debate was getting heated. Some species wanted to fight. Others wanted to run. A few suggested trying to negotiate with the Devourers. There is no negotiation, Ji-hoon said firmly. We've tried. The only communication they understand is violence. They respect only strength. Then teach us, said Taeho suddenly. The chamber went quiet. If humans are the only species that knows how to fight them, then teach us how to fight. Ji-hoon smiled for the first time since the meeting began. That's exactly what we hoped you would say. Dr. Hyo-jung stepped forward again. We've prepared training programs for every major species, but you need to understand what you're asking for. Learning to fight the Devourers means becoming something like us. It means giving up parts of your culture that you think make you civilized. What's the alternative? Asked the representative from Kepler Federation. Extinction, Ji-hoon said. The vote was close, but it passed. The galaxy would learn to fight. Species that had never held weapons would become armies. Worlds that had never seen conflict would become battlefields. As the meeting ended, Taeho approached Ji-hoon privately. Admiral, can we really do this? Can we change an entire galaxy into warriors in just 6 months? Ji-hoon looked at him seriously. Commander, we don't have a choice. The Devourers are coming whether we're ready or not. The question isn't whether we can do it. The question is whether we can do it fast enough. Outside the Great Hall, alien diplomats were already making emergency calls to their home worlds. The age of peace in the galaxy was ending. The age of war was about to begin. The first attack came without warning. General Subin was drinking coffee in her command center when the alerts started screaming. The Devourers had reached Proxima Centauri, humanity's closest neighbor. They were 3 months early. All units, this is not a drill, Subin announced across the human communication network. Operation Shield Wall is now active. All ships to battle stations. On the main screen, she watched the destruction begin. The Proxima system had 3 planets with alien colonies. Each world held millions of beings who had been trying to learn human military tactics for only 3 months. It wasn't enough time. The Devourer bioships came out of hyperspace like nightmares. They were organic, growing and changing as Subin watched. The largest one was bigger than Earth's moon, covered in tentacles and feeding ports that opened like hungry mouths. Ma'am, the Proxima Defense Fleet is requesting immediate assistance, reported Lieutenant Dong Hyun from his position at the communications desk. Launch all available squadrons, Subin ordered, and activate the Ghost Protocol. Across the solar system, human ships that had been hiding in asteroids and behind moons suddenly appeared. They had been waiting there for decades, invisible to all scanners. The humans called them ghost ships because nobody knew they existed until it was time to fight. Lieutenant Dong Hyun piloted one of the smaller attack craft. His ship was black and sleek, designed to be fast and deadly. As he flew toward the battle, he could see the bioships already starting to consume the first planet. Tentacles as thick as city blocks were reaching down to the surface, pulling up chunks of land and feeding them into massive organic processors. Ghost Squadron. This is Ghost Leader, Dong Hyun said into his radio. Remember your training. These things feel pain just like any living creature. Make them hurt. The human attack was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Where alien species tried to use traditional space combat tactics, the humans did something completely different. They attacked the bioship's nervous systems directly. Every human ship carried a special weapon that Dr. Hyo-jung had developed. It broadcast pure human emotion directly into the Devourer's minds, and humans had spent 3 centuries collecting their most violent memories. Broadcasting psychological warfare package, Dong-hyun announced as he dove his ship toward the largest bioship. Let them feel what it's like to be human. The weapon activated, and suddenly the Devourers experienced every human war, every battle, every moment of violence in human history. They felt what it was like to fight at Thermopylae, to storm the beaches at Normandy, to defend cities against impossible odds. The effect was immediate and terrible. The bioship started to writhe and scream in frequencies that could be heard across space. The creatures that had consumed peaceful civilizations without effort were experiencing predators for the first time. On the surface of Proxima 3, Captain Boram was leading a defense force made up of humans and newly trained aliens. The aliens were trying their best, but they kept making mistakes that would have gotten them killed in seconds. No, 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 Boram shouted at a group of Kepler Federation soldiers who were standing in the open. Cover first, then shoot. The Devourers will eat you if you give them a clear target. A massive tentacle crashed down where the aliens had been standing moments before. Boram pulled them behind a concrete barrier just in time. I don't understand, gasped one of the alien soldiers. Why do they want to kill us? What did we do to them? Nothing, Boram said, checking her weapon. That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't hate us. They don't even think about us. We're just food to them. She showed the aliens how to use the human-made weapons. Each gun was designed to cause maximum damage to organic tissue. They weren't elegant or sophisticated like alien technology. They were simple, brutal, and effective. Aim for the nerve clusters, Boram explained. See those glowing spots? That's where they feel pain. Make them hurt enough and they'll pull back. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships darted between the massive bioships like angry insects, stinging and retreating. On the ground, mixed forces of humans and aliens fought desperate holding actions against the feeding tentacles. But slowly, something impossible started to happen. The Devourers began to retreat. They're pulling back, Dong-hyun reported from his fighter. The big one is moving away from the planet. General Subin watched from her command center in disbelief. In 300 years of preparation, they had hoped to slow down the Devourers. They had never expected to actually hurt them badly enough to make them run. All units pursue but maintain safe distance, she ordered. I want to know why they're leaving. Dr. Hyo-jung was monitoring the Devourers' biological responses from her laboratory on Earth. What she found changed everything they thought they knew about the enemy. General, you need to see this, she said over the communication link. The Devourers aren't just retreating. They're afraid. Afraid of what? Us, Hyo-jung said quietly. They've never encountered a species that fights like we do. Most civilizations try to defend or run. We attack their minds directly. We make them experience violence as a concept, not just as an action. On the screen, she showed brain scans from captured Devourer tissue. The creature's neural networks were in chaos. They had been designed to process peaceful, terrified thoughts from their victims. Human aggression was like poison to their minds. They don't understand predators, Hyo-jung continued. Every species they've consumed was prey. We're the first predator species they've ever met. General Subin felt a cold smile cross her face. Then let's show them what real predators can do. The victory at Proxima Centauri sent shockwaves through both sides of the conflict. The galaxy learned that the Devourers could be beaten. The Devourers learned that humans were unlike anything they had ever faced. But both sides also learned something else. This was just the first battle in a war that would determine whether organic life had a future in the universe. And the humans were just getting started. Prepare Phase 2, Subin ordered. If they want to hunt in our galaxy, let's teach them what it means to become the hunted. The war had been raging for 3 months when Colonel Hyun-soo made the discovery that changed everything. He was leading a capture mission deep in enemy territory, trying to take a Devourer command bioship alive for study. What his team found inside was not what anyone expected. Dr. Yuna, you need to see this, Hyun-soo said over the secure communication channel. His voice was shaking, which was unusual for a man who had spent his entire life preparing for war. Dr. Yuna was Earth's leading expert on alien biology. She had spent decades studying every species in the galaxy, but the Devourers were unlike anything in her databases. "What did you find, Colonel?" "They're not the real enemy," Hyunsu said simply. "They're running from something." Inside the captured bioship, Hyunsu's team had found something that looked like a control center, but instead of weapons or navigation systems, they found what could only be described as a desperate attempt at communication. The walls were covered in biological displays showing star maps, mathematical equations, and something that looked like a countdown timer. "The Devourers have been trying to warn us," Dr. Yuna realized as she studied the data. "They consume civilizations not because they want to, but because they need the energy to keep running." "Running from what?" asked Commander Tejo, who had become the primary liaison between humans and the Galactic Council. Dr. Yuna pointed to a section of the star map that showed something moving through space behind the Devourers. It was hard to see clearly, but it looked like a wave of darkness that turned entire star systems black. "Something that makes the Devourers look like harmless pets," she said quietly. Back on Earth, Admiral Jihun was coordinating humanity's ultimate weapon. The planet itself had been turned into a massive gun using the sun's energy. It was a project that had taken 2 centuries to build and could only be fired once. After that, Earth would be uninhabitable for 1,000 years. "Sir, we have the calculation," reported Engineer Minna, who had joined the human defense effort after seeing what was at stake. "If we channel the sun's output through the planetary array, we can create a weapon powerful enough to destroy their entire fleet." "But the cost," Jihun said, looking at the numbers. "Everyone on Earth will have to evacuate," Minna confirmed. "And we might damage the sun permanently. Earth could become a frozen rock." "Do it anyway," said a new voice. Captain Wu Jin entered the command center with news from the front lines. "The Devourers just sent their biggest fleet toward Earth. Everything they have is coming here." "How many ships?" Jihun asked. "Our scouts count over 1,000 bioships," Wu Jin said. "Some of them are the size of small moons. If they reach Earth, there won't be a planet left to save." Admiral Jihun made the hardest decision in human history: begin the evacuation. All civilians to the deep space stations. Military personnel only on the surface for the final battle. Across the galaxy, the war had spread to every system, but something strange was happening. The alien species that had seemed helpless just months before were starting to fight like humans. They were learning not just tactics, but the mindset needed to be warriors. Lieutenant Dong Hyun was training a mixed squadron of human and alien pilots when he saw the change happen. A young pilot from the Kepler Federation, someone who had never even seen violence before the war started, successfully used human psychological warfare against a Devourer bioship. "Did you see that?" the alien pilot said excitedly. "I made it afraid. I actually made that monster afraid." "Good," Dong Hyun said with pride. "Now you're thinking like a human." But the real battle was happening in Earth's solar system. The Devourers had brought everything they had, and humanity was making their final stand. General Subin commanded the defense from a bunker deep underground, while on the surface, the planet gun charged up for its one and only shot. "All defensive fleets. This is Earth Command," Subin announced. "The enemy will be here in 6 hours. Everyone who isn't essential to the final weapon should evacuate now. For those staying, it's been an honor serving with you." Dr. Hyojung was in her laboratory working on the final programming for the psychological warfare systems. She had discovered something important about the Devourers, something that could change the entire war. "General, I know how to stop them permanently," she said, "but we need to capture their central command ship alive." "That's impossible," Subin replied. "It's the size of a planet." "Not impossible," said Colonel Hyunsu over the radio. "Just very, very dangerous. My team can do it, but we'll need every ship in the fleet to get us close enough." The final battle began when the Devourer fleet reached the edge of Earth's solar system. The bioships came in a formation that covered space from Mercury to Mars. They moved like a living tide of destruction, consuming asteroids and small moons as they approached. But humanity was ready. Ships appeared from every hiding place in the solar system. The moon opened up to reveal massive weapon batteries. Mars launched clouds of attack drones. Even the asteroid belt had been turned into a weapons platform. "Fire everything," Subin ordered. The battle was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Human weapons designed over 3 centuries of preparation, met alien biology that had been perfected over millions of years. Both sides fought with everything they had, but in the end, it came down to Colonel Hyun-soo and his team boarding the Central Command ship. What they found there was not a traditional command center, but something that looked more like a library or a museum. They're not just running, Hyun-soo realized. They're preserving. Every civilization they consume, they save a piece of it. The Devourers had been trying to save something from every species they encountered before the real enemy arrived. They were not destroyers, but desperate librarians trying to preserve life before something even worse wiped it all out. Dr. Yuna, Hyun-soo said into his communicator, I think we can work with them, but we need to do it fast. According to their data, the thing they're running from will be here soon. And so the war ended not with humanity's ultimate weapon, but with understanding. The Devourers agreed to help fight the real enemy in exchange for a safe place to preserve the life they had been forced to consume. Earth's planet gun was turned from a weapon of destruction into a beacon of hope, calling every free species in the galaxy to make their final stand together. The galaxy learned that sometimes the monsters you fear are just victims of even bigger monsters. And humanity learned that being the strongest fighters in the universe meant nothing if you didn't know what you were really fighting for. Commander Taeho, watching from the bridge of his ship as human and devourer vessels worked side by side, turned to his crew. The galaxy will never be the same after this. Is that good or bad? Asked Dr. Bora. It's survival, Taeho said, looking at the stars where something even darker was heading their way. And thanks to the humans, we still have a chance.